Olúwa Yoruba Nation. Ó dára, ó lẹ́wà, ilẹ̀ òmìnira. Kò síbikíbi tí a lè wà lórílẹ̀ ayé. Tí a lè gbàgbé Yoruba Nation. Jọ̀wọ́ o, Olúwa, mú wa dé ibẹ̀. Tọmọtọmọ, tọkọtọkọ, tayátayá wa. Kí gbogbo ayé lè mọ̀ wípé ilẹ̀ tiwa ni. Àwa yóò dé Yoruba Nation. Jọ̀wọ́ o, Olúwa, ràn wá lọ́wọ́ láti gba ara wa nínú ìnira. Kò sọ́gbọ̀n kọ́gbọ̀n tí Nàìjíríà fi lè tàn wá jẹ. Àwa yóò dé Yoruba Nation. Ilẹ̀ wa, Yoruba Nation. Ó dára, ó lẹ́wà, ilẹ̀ òmìnira. Kò síbikíbi tí a lè wà lórílẹ̀ ayé. Tí a lè gbàgbé Yoruba Nation. Jọ̀wọ́ o, Olúwa, mú wa dé ibẹ̀. Tọmọtọmọ, tọkọtọkọ, tayátayá wa. Kí gbogbo ayé lè mọ̀ wípé ilẹ̀ tiwa ni. Àwa yóò dé Yoruba Nation. Jọ̀wọ́ o, Olúwa, ràn wá ní ọwọ́ láti gba ara wa nínú ìnira. Kò sọ́gbọ̀n kọ́gbọ̀n tí Nàìjíríà fi lè tàn wá jẹ. Àwa yóò dé Yoruba Nation. Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, ilẹ̀ òmìnira, èmi kò jẹ́ gbàgbé rẹ̀. Èmi yóò máa sọ nípa ògo rẹ̀, mo fojú sọ́nà sí ilẹ̀ mi. Oh my land, Yoruba Nation, I will always cherish you. I will always fight for your glory. I look forward to you, my land, Yoruba Nation. Now. Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, ilẹ̀ òmìnira, èmi kò jẹ́ ìgbàgbé rẹ̀. Èmi yóò máa sọ nípa ògo rẹ̀, mo fojú sọ́nà sí ilẹ̀ mi. Oh my land, Yoruba Nation, I will always cherish you. I will always fight for your glory. I look forward to you, my land.
ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ jùmọ̀ kọ orin ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Àwa ni ògo adúláwọ̀.
Fire. Thank you so much. So to start off, first of all, I'd like you to give us one very short message about the significance of this day, June 12th.
Well, it is the day that signifies the awakening of Nigerians to their desire for democracy and all the freedom. A 2-year-old mother, grandmother. I am a medical by profession. I was born 72 years ago in Ibadan to the family of Chief Obafemi Awolowo and HID Awolowo. Actually, it was a Wednesday that I was born, and I was born night. So Papa was about to leave for Owo. Interestingly, he had a case the following day in Owo, and he preferred to travel overnight. So just as he was about to enter his car, he heard the cry of a newborn baby, and that was me. I went to school in Ibadan. I went to a kindergarten school, children home school, run by Chief Mrs. Ogunlesi at the time. And then I went to UMC Demonstration School, which was a public school. And I was fortunate to be one of the people that pioneered the free education program in the Western region. I was one of the students at the time in UMC. And from there, I went to St. Anne's School in Ibadan. And thereafter, I was about to sit for a direct entrance into the University of Ibadan. But the day before the exam, I got a message that I should not bother to turn up for the exam because I was too young. That was the time when the Western region crisis was raging, and it was really probably at its zenith at that time. And so my parents decided that it was that my sister and I, my immediate senior sister, Mrs. Otumba Ayodele Shoyode, late now, that both of us should just be packed off to the United Kingdom. So we went, and I attended a school called Felixstowe College in Suffolk. And there I did my A-levels, and then I gained entrance into the University of Bristol, where I studied medicine. I graduated in 1972, and I came back home for my house jobs, and then I continued working at the UCH in Ibadan. I got married, moved to Lagos, worked at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, actually the College of Medicine, the Department of Public Health. And from there, I moved to the Nigerian Ports Authority Medical Division, where I developed an interest in occupational medicine. Then I went to the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, a school within the University of London. And I did a master's degree in occupational medicine and also did a diploma in industrial health. And I came back into private practice, after which, I was in private practice when Papa died. And that was in 1987. And then my career got interrupted because I was into the Constituent Assembly at the time in it. And from there, I just got sucked into politics. And there into Bafemi Awolowo, set up the Awolowo Foundation. That's what I was doing. And I wanted ambassador of Nigeria to the of this. After which, I decided to go back to my profession. And I worked in the UK for several years. Came back a few years ago, started back with the Awolowo Foundation. And that's what I've been doing, apart from helping to steer the Nigerian Tribune, the African newspapers of Nigeria. So that's who I am. That's what I do. I'm a very quiet person, very introverted, I think. Very reserved.
It's amazing
and
that
very quiet.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that wonderful capture or recap of yourself and your childhood and background, etc. I'm sure there's been a lot of fun memories even whilst you were recapping. But one thing you just said now is that you're very quiet, you're very introverted and very reserved. Are you sure about that, Ma? You've got the Awolowo blood in your veins. Neither Chief Obafemi Awolowo nor HID were introverts or quiet. And being someone that has also had the opportunity to veer into politics yourself, maybe that kind of must have stripped you of the little quietness that you probably have been guarding all your life.
Well, that's how I like to describe myself. Other people probably see me differently, but I like to think I'm quiet, but sometimes when I have something to say or when something really irks me, I can't stop myself from speaking. So, maybe I'm somewhere in between.
And I would say that marks you indeed as your father's daughter. And talking about your beloved dad, I'm going to go on to my next question, which is about the Awolowo Foundation. We cannot talk about what we have obviously all fighting for today, to see an Africa and a Nigeria and a Yoruba nation that is properly governed and where democracy is held sway. We do know that the Awolowo Foundation has those ethos. Why was it set up? And what exactly is it that you do at the foundation and your role as executive director? So that's 3 questions in one, ma'am. Over to you.
Okay. When Papa died, I had no intention of going into public life at all. But then, as I said, I went into the Constituent Assembly. I was sucked into politics. I was in politics for a few years. And it dawned on me that Papa's legacy was of such importance, such significance, that it would be a shame if we allowed it to die. So I had, looking back now, the erroneous impression that I could carry on that legacy through politics, but that didn't work. But the feeling remained that that legacy was very, very important. And as far as I was concerned, Papa translated from a partisan politician to a universal idea on May 9, 1987, because I believed that his thoughts, his mission, his vision, his philosophy cut across party lines because it was about development. Through the development, making the individual the centerpiece of the development program. And I just believed that any politician or any government official, functionary worth his or her salt would see that as the foundation, as a plank upon which they could build. So the idea of the Awolowo Foundation, and I thought that was a perfect way to reposition Papa and his ideas in a non-partisan way, in a way that it would be accessible and available to all shades of political opinion, everybody and anybody who wished this country well and who wishes this country progress. So that's why the foundation was set up. And in putting together a board of trustees, I and a few others that were working with me at the time, we decided that we needed to cut across the entire nation, all nationalities within Nigeria, all shades of political opinion in Nigeria. So we had General Gawan as the chairman. We had Chief Emeka Ojukwu as a member of the board. Chief Abiola was a member of the board. Chief Bolaige, of course, was on the board. And some intellectuals were there. He's a chief, Professor Ladipo Akinkugbe, and so on. And we had even Alhaji Maitama Sule was on the board. In order that we could have access to all those networks, to bring them together to talk about the problems of Nigeria and the great issues of the day. That was why the foundation was set up. And mercifully, we got the support of the federal government at the time. We were massively supported by the federal government at the time and state governments at the time. And once it was set up, once we had the funding, it was now a question of how do we proceed. And I just felt that we needed to do what Papa used to do. Look at the great issues, the trending issues, the issues of the day, and bring people together from different angles to discuss it and perhaps come to a consensus. And that was what we did for many years. We had annual dialogues. We had a dialogue on the economy, a dialogue on the way forward, a dialogue on leadership, a dialogue on democracy and the rule of law, on poverty, on education, on health, name it. We had those dialogue here, lasting from anything from 1 day to 3 days. And we invited people from all corners of Nigeria and beyond. And we had the support of foreign governments. The British High Commission was supportive, the US Embassy was supportive, Ford Foundation, and so on. So it was, and we had annual meetings on the budget as well, analyzing the budget and so on. So, so that was what we did in order to keep this legacy alive. And in order to bring generations that probably don't know Papa to the knowledge of what he stood for. And as the years have gone on, it has become clear that our mission at this point is just to sustain and protect that legacy in such a way that generations that are coming behind can have the option of looking at it again. If it's dead, then they can't have a look at it. But if it's still alive, if at some point in the future, a group of young people who want to be in public office, want to engage in public life in Nigeria, feel that, okay, why don't we try a different approach? If they feel the current approach is not working well enough, why don't we try a different approach? There's somebody called Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Why don't we look at what he stood for? And if they wish, then they could make use of it. Fortunately, Papa was easy his legacy was easy to sustain because he wrote a lot. He was an intellectual. He was a thinker. He was a philosopher. He was all of those actually first before being a politician, in my view. Politics for him, in my humble opinion, was but an avenue, an avenue by which to actualize his thoughts and his projects and programs for people. So it was easy, and it's still easy. His thoughts are still there in print, and we try to carry on, just maintaining that legacy and protecting it. A lot of people might want to use it for partisan political ends, which is fine if it works for them. But we need to be sure that that legacy actually rises above partisanship. And it is something that that is still so relevant at this time. And as for myself, as an executive director, well, I remain the executive director. I pilot the affairs. We don't have a bureaucracy in the foundation. I never roots because I knew that funding a bureaucracy would very quickly become a problem. And so we worked on an ad hoc. Whenever we had a committee that worked on it, and once their work is done, that's it. And we've been very fortunate because although Papa was not stupendously wealthy, what he had was actually greater than material wealth, and that is the goodwill. And so people we've invited to work with us on programs and projects have done so practically for free. In fact, actually for free many times. And the rest of the time, maybe just a stipend for their transportation and their living. In fact, we've gotten away with so much for so little. So it's been quite easy to do it.
Thank you very much indeed for taking us down memory lane from the time that you and the other members decided to set up the foundation, Thank you for explaining to us what the foundation really means. There's something that you said that I picked up. You said that your beloved dad, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, as we all know him, translated from this earth into a global idea. And immediately another person that has actually done that. In fact, I would say that he's probably in very great company, because we'll be thinking of people like Madiba, Nelson Mandela, who also he was about fighting for his people, and he also did the same thing and translated. Somebody like Mahatma Gandhi, the list goes on of people like that. Mother Teresa, people that actually took it upon themselves to ensure the betterment of their people, of their nations, and the world at large. Having said that, would you say then that all the ideologies that was inherited from the great sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, now focusing on Nigeria, and especially the Yoruba Nation, because you also let us know that you had quite a number of leaders, within Nigeria itself, from the various states and regions that came to support. My question is, did the government of the day, obviously there have been different governments since you've been running the foundation, have any of them at all taken on board the great ideas and suggestions and advices that yourself and the entire group have come up with? Is there any one particular time that there was something you said, look, this is what we have come up from the foundation, or this is what we have observed? I would love you to have a look at it and hopefully implement it for the betterment of us as a nation. Has there been any time that something like that has happened? Because it's very important for us to know.
It may have happened, but I am not aware. I'm not aware that anything that emanated from the Awolowo Foundation has been embraced in government. I'm not aware. That is not to say that it hasn't been done, quietly behind the scenes. It's possible, but I'm not aware.
Thank you, ma'am. Now you have been drawn into the forays of politics, even though your first love is obviously medicine, because we always know that doctors and medical practitioners are born, not made. It will be in you to go into that, because it's a profession of caring, and it's from the heart. And then you get yanked from there into the turbulent forays of politics. Are you able to just share a few things with us about the highs and lows, your experiences as both a politician and also when you became ambassador?
Yes. Well, my foray into politics, as I said, was through the Constituent Assembly in 1988 to 1989, and thereafter I ventured into partisan politics. I have to say that the sum total experience was traumatic for many reasons. Some of which was probably due to my own naivety and assumptions that I went into it with. But the reality was quite different. And so I ran into troubled waters in the most unexpected quarters, from the most unexpected people. But it was a learning curve, a steep one, but a learning curve all the same. And I'm grateful that I went through it. What I do know, though, is that when I emerged in politics, there was great excitement at the grassroots, the ones that I knew that to know me. They were very happy. I suppose they transferred the kind of love that they had for Papa to me at the time, and the expectation was very high. And I remember very vividly. I live in the mainland in Lagos, and during my campaigns, when I tried to contest for governorship in Lagos State, I remember there was a lady. She was hawking fruit, pineapple, pawpaw, and her entire outlay, I don't think could have been up to 3,000 naira. I'm not sure. But she was passing by my house, saw the posters, and asked to come in. And the gate man was going to stop her, and I said, no, let her come in. And she came in. She put down her tray, and she emptied it for me. She was weeping. She was crying. And she said, she remembered Papa and all that he did. And if his child could do anything like that, they would be very, very fortunate, and so on. That I will never forget. I tried to give her money, and she refused. She refused till the end, and she left. The other experience I had was there was, I can't remember, there was some crisis. There were burning tires on Ikorodu Road, and I couldn't get back home. And I made a detour through Bariga and Shomolu, Igbobi, that kind. And the whole place, there was no movement. So I decided to get down from the car and walk, make my way home. And as I got down, one of the young men just noticed and said, Omo Baba, this is Papa's child. And I said, where are you going? I said, I'm going home. And he said, well, I'll lead you, I'll pilot you home. And as we went, they got, more and more of them joined. And by the time I got home, it was a huge crowd. The neighborhoods passed because they were all carrying leaves and all sorts of things. And all the neighborhoods, the people were peeping out of their windows and doors and wondering what was going on. And they saw me right to my house. And when I got home, I wanted to give them something to say thank you. They said, no way. And they just went off happily, and went off happily. So those kind of experiences gave me great joy that Papa left such an impression. On one occasion, this is the final one. There are so many of them. I'll put them in my book. There was one occasion we made a detour through Diaraba, Mushin, and stuff. And I was in the Awolowo Foundation vehicle with the logo on the sides. And there were narrow roads, of course, and there was a table tennis. There were two young boys were playing table tennis beside the road, and one of them looked behind him and said to the other, Moto Babani. Now, the other one didn't ask who the Baba, he understood without having to be explained to. So those kinds of experiences were very, very, very heartwarming. But then you had to contend with other politicians, and that just didn't work. And I just felt that it wasn't for me. So, but I'm glad I went through it. I'm glad I went through it. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about human nature. I learned a lot about politics in Nigeria and its foibles. So that was good. And then I went to be the executive director at the Awolowo Foundation, and I was appointed ambassador. Before I was appointed ambassador at the foundation, I was appointed a member of the International Committee of the Council on Foundations, which is based in Washington. It's an umbrella body for 1,000 foundations worldwide. And that was a fantastic experience. I used to go for meetings with them, and I learned an awful lot about the third sector, which it is called, which can do such great things without having to be in government. And then when I was appointed ambassador, that was that was a surprise.
How did you feel when you got the call?
It was a complete surprise. I remember. Well, it was a Saturday afternoon. I was about to leave my bedroom. I was about to go and visit. I remember it was Chief Chris in hospital. I think he was attacked at home at that time, and he was in hospital, and I was on my way to go and visit him in hospital. And as I crossed the threshold of my bedroom, my private telephone rang in my room. And I thought, who could be calling me? And I went back and I picked up the call. And it was somebody, I won't name names. And he said he was calling from the presidency. I said, okay, well, what can I do for you? He said, well, your name came up as a nominee for ambassador. How I felt, because it was completely out of the blue. And it just was, I didn't think at all, my plans in a complete direction. I said, okay, I didn't know what to say. Mama is not in the country at the time. I have to talk to her. So we left it at that. I tried to call Mama in the UK. For some strange reason, I couldn't get her. For about a week or two, I just couldn't get through to her. And so I just forgot all about it. And I myself was about to travel out of the country. So I just forgot about it and left. It was while I was in London. My late brother, called me one evening and said, well, he called, and then Chief Segun Oshoba, who was then governor of Ogun State, called and said, well, the list is coming out tomorrow, your name is on it. And I said, well, because I was sure there must have been so many people lobbying for this thing, and since they hadn't heard from me, I'm sure they must have, picked somebody else who appeared a lot keener. So that was how it happened, and I came back home for screening and all the rest of it. And then I actually went on posting. And my experience there was brilliant. It was also hard in some.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think because it's raining nights here in the UK, so we're trying to sort out some challenges there. There's nothing one can do about the weather. The weather is controlled, but I'm sure the technical director, Mr. Adi Thomas, will be able to sort that out very, very quickly. Once again, if you're just tuning in, it's the Arise Conversations talk show, and I am your host and producer, Her Royal Highness Princess Muradium Adedoyin Sholari. My guest today is none other than the amazing, very brilliant Dr. Ambassador Odua Tokunbo Awolowo Dosumu, who is a medical practitioner by profession, a former ambassador of Nigeria to the Netherlands, executive director of the Obafemi Awolowo Foundation, and somebody who's also forayed into the avenues of politics, an administrator of repute, an amazing and astute thought leader, and a speaker. We're just waiting for our technical director to sort things out. In the interim, we'll go on a short break and we'll be back very, very soon. Please stay tuned. It's Odua Legend on Heritage Multimedia Television, beaming live and direct to you from the United Kingdom. See you very soon. Don't go away.
Hey, jẹ́ má gbé kúrò níbẹ̀. Hey, jẹ́ má gbé kúrò níbẹ̀. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ fi sílẹ̀ níbẹ̀. Àní ẹ jẹ́ kó wà níbẹ̀. Heritage Television, #1 television. Padimiya, keep watching, keep watching, keep watching, keep watching. Heritage Television, #1.
Heritage. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń bá wa dòwò pọ̀ ẹ ṣé àdúpẹ́. Heritage event tuntun ti dé. 360 photo booth, 160 LED, play projector, ohun èlò ìgbàlódé lóríṣiríṣi. Ilẹ̀ gbàgbẹ́ Heritage níjàre. Ní Heritage event a ti gẹ̀rẹ́gẹ̀dígẹ̀ àti tẹ̀síwájú, iléeṣẹ́ wa ti kúrò bá ti lérò. Àwọn ohun amáyédẹrùn ìgbàlódé tó ń fini lọ́kàn balẹ̀ níbi ayẹyẹ wà nílẹ̀ rẹpẹtẹ. Rental service lọ́lọ́kọ̀ òjọ̀kan, ìyàwòrán kótópó olóbìnrin po, 360 photo booths, jígí àràmàǹdà tìgbàlódé, light emitting diode, 160 LED screen tó ń tanná tàmálẹ̀ gàràgà. A ní flame projector, ẹ̀rọ cold fireworks machine wà tó ń ṣáná wọlé, ẹ̀rọ low fog machine ò gbẹ́yìn, digital photography pẹ̀lú digital and special effect creations. À ń ṣe live streaming service tó máa ń ṣàfihàn ayẹyẹ yín bó ti ń lọ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ ní gbogbo àgbáyé ó máa wò. A tún lè bá yín gbèrò tàbí mójútó àwọn ayẹyẹ tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣe bí ìgbéyàwó, ìṣílé, ìkómọjáde, ìsìnkú àgbà, àjọ̀dún ẹgbẹ́ tàbí tìjọ. Kí lẹ̀ ń dúró dè? Ẹ kàn sí wa ní Heritage event lórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 0333 0116 367 àti 07367 367 555. Email admic@eventspecialeffect.co.uk. Lórí ẹ̀rọ alátagbà www.eventspecialeffect.co.uk. Heritage event, giving your event that special effect. Sílẹ̀ gbàgbẹ́ Heritage níjàre. Heritage ti dé. Abaremedy ló sọ pé àìsàn ní ṣe wá. Ṣọ́múròrò àwọn ká pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ka o. Orí fífọ́ ò dáa. Máa ń pa wá ó ṣe kókó fámọ́ ọkùnrin. Diabetes ò dáa. Rúmọ́lẹ́gùn ò dára káyé má bá wọn jà o. Àbí o kàlàfíà àwọn máa ti fíafíà o. Bí iléeṣẹ́ Abaremedy ṣe ń fọn lérí ẹ̀ pé ká tọ́jú ara wa pẹ̀lú àwọn oògùn ìbílẹ̀ tiwantiwa. Egbògi ilẹ̀ Yorùbá pọ́nbélé tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ fáwọn onírúurú àìsàn bíi ẹ̀jẹ̀ ríru, high blood pressure, ìtọ̀ ṣúgà, diabetes, ẹ̀fọ́rí túlù, migraine, àwọ̀ká, arthritis, nárùn, body
inching sọmúlọ́rọ̀ àtẹ̀dá tó ń dààmú àwọn obìnrin Yorùbá natural herbal remedy ló lè yanjú ẹ̀. manpower ọkùnrin làdá tó ń fáwọn ọkùnrin lágbára láti ṣojúṣe wọn lọ́dọ̀ àwọn aya wọn. ọ̀sẹ̀ àánú náà wà mercy soap fún gbogbo ẹni tó fẹ́ràn àánú gbà. herbal remedy láti lè ṣe heritage tv London. ẹ lè rí àláwọ̀ àdírẹ́sì tó ń kọjá lójú wòran yìí tàbí kẹ́ ẹ pè nọ́mbà yìí +44 777 8957 893 lè ṣe heritage tv London ló ń pariwo wípé àìsàn àtàrùn onífàgbọ́ ara wa ṣe bùgbé o.
Ọmọlẹ́kùn dára káyé má bá wọn jọ. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, land of glory, Jerusalem, holy land, and they visit to Jerusalem.
ní àwọn tó ti wà ní àkọsílẹ̀ tí a sì ń jẹ́rìí rẹ̀ wípé òdodo ni àǹfààní ńlá ló ṣí sílẹ̀ fún ọ láti wọ̀lú Ísírẹ́lì ìrìn àjò ọlọ́jọ́ 10 sí ìlú mímọ́ ní Jerusalem. ìwọ náà rí fúnra rẹ̀ àwọn ibi tó ti kà nínú Bíbélì orí òkè Nebo ní àdójúkọ Jericho níbi tí Ọlọ́run ti fi gbogbo ilẹ̀ lérí hàn Mósè. Deuteronomy chapter 34 verse 1 to 12 àfonífojì Élà níbi tí Dáfídì ti ṣẹ́gun Gòláyátì. 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 1 to 5 òkun Gálílì níbi tí Jésù ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ ìránṣẹ́. Luke chapter 4 verse 14 to 15 Kánà àti Gálílì níbi tí Jésù ti ṣiṣẹ́ ìyanu àkọ́kọ́ ó somi di wáìnì. Jòhánù orí kejì ẹsẹ̀ kìíní sí kẹwàá odò Jọ́dánì níbi tí Jòhánù onítẹ̀bọmi ti baptisi Jésù. Matthew chapter 3 verse 13 ilé tí Jósẹ́fù àti Màríà ìyá Jésù gbé ní Násárẹ́tì. Matthew chapter 2 verse 23 ìlú Jericho. Joshua chapter 6 verse 1 to 2 Òkun Pupa. Exodus chapter 14 verse 22 ọgbà Gẹ́stímánì níbi tí Jésù ti ń gbàdúrà. Matthew chapter 26 verse 36 sàárè Lásárù ibojì ọba Dáfídì ní Jerúsálẹ́mù ilé tí Jésù àtàwọn ọmọ ẹ̀yìn ti jó ń jalè Olúwa. Mark chapter 14 verse 15 to 18 yàrá òkè níbi táwọn ọmọ ẹ̀yìn ti gbẹ̀mí mímọ́. Iṣẹ́ Àpọ́stélì chapter 2 verse 1 to 5 àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. fún àlàyé lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́ ẹ Captain Mother Athens sórí nọ́mbà yìí 078 721 379 53 tàbí Pastor Elijah Kumuyi sórí nọ́mbà yìí 079 846 348 98. àjòsílẹ̀ mímọ́ kì í ṣe ìrìn àjò lásán ṣùgbọ́n ká lọ kábọ̀ ká dẹni ọ̀tun. ìrìn àjò sí Jerusalem tọdún yìí.
Heritage TV for your next event. Rental services. We are the best at what we do.
Heritage Events. For your next event, what are your requests? Let's enhance you with various modern facilities that will make your event very successful. With Heritage Events, giving your event that special effect. We engage in rental service. We provide you with 160 light emitting diode, LED screen, 360 photo booth also available, flame projector, code fireworks machine, and low fog machine, digital photography, also digital and special effect creation. We also give live streaming services. We can also manage and plan your event for you, such as wedding ceremony, housewarming, child dedication, burial ceremony, clubs and churches anniversary. So what are you waiting for? Contact us now on 0333 0116 367 or 07367 367 555. Email admin@eventspecialeffect.co.uk. Website www.eventspecialeffect.co.uk. Heritage Events, giving your event that special effect.
We are the best at what we do. Heritage, oh.
Quick Cargo
Limited. From London to Nigeria.
Quick Cargo Limited. We specialize in shipping and air freight from London to Nigeria. We provide you with high quality, affordable and reliable shipping platform globally. Quick Cargo Limited. We collect from your door within London with free pickup. Your containers, cash shipping, air freight services, shipment shipping, plant machinery and professional packing services. All this we do to satisfy you. London address, Unit 1215. Access Self Storage, Kingsbridge Road, Afresh Way, back in IG 11 OBD. Telephone +44 79 04 04 1142 +44 79 6021 2185 +44 78 4949 4970. Nigeria address #1 Molara Alibaba Close behind CPM Church, Ajao Estate, Lagos. Telephone 090 7083 3630. Website www.quickcargo.co.uk. Email info@quickcargo.co.uk. Quick Cargo Limited, affordable and reliable shipping
from London to Nigeria.
1959, were able to set this up under the leadership of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, then one begins to think. So I want you all to just sit back and watch this clip. Maybe it will enable us to think about the way forward, because this is going to lead me into the next question I'm going to ask Dr. Tokunbo Awolowo Dosumu. So stay tuned and watch the launch of WNTV.
The opening of the Western Nigeria television service was a great occasion, not only because it was the first of its kind in the whole of Africa, but also because of the prodigious efforts which had gone into making it possible in so shortly 3 months. It was a proud moment for Mr. Ikoli and the other directors of Western. Chief Anaharo opened the proceedings.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government of Western Nigeria, I welcome all of you to the official opening of the television service in this region. Today is a great day in the history of this region, and I think also in the history of the development of television and broadcasting services on this continent. And I'd like to thank you all very much for coming here this evening to join us in this official opening. I call on His Excellency the Governor General, Sir James Robertson, to say the opening remarks.
Your Excellency, Honourable Premier, Honourable Ministers, Chairman and members of the Television Corporation, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to me to be present here this evening at the inaugural ceremony of the Western Region's television service. And I very much appreciate the invitation which the Chairman and Board of Directors of the Western Region of Nigeria's Radio Vision Service have sent me. And I should like to congratulate both the government of the Western Region and the Overseas Rediffusion Company on the enterprise and determination which they have shown in preparing for this ceremony and for the opening of the television service in such record time.
Chief Awolowo spoke next.
Your Excellencies, Your Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, few events in my life have given me so much pleasure as to come before you tonight to open formally the first television network in Africa. Western Nigeria television is already being emulated by other parts of this country as well as in a number of other African states. Gain much from this great medium of mass information and instruction. It is a powerful influence for good. And I am confident that in due course, it will assist in making
our great country even greater. Very soon, we'll introduce commercial radio to Nigeria, and we have made careful plans that this medium, in formally launching Western Nigeria television first in Africa. I ask you all to rejoice with my colleagues and me on this memorable occasion.
After the ceremonies in Western Hall, the guests went to television.
Odua Legends on Arise Conversations, brought to you live and direct by Heritage Multimedia Television. We just finished watching a video clip of the launching of the WNTV WNBS. That's the first 10 station ever in the whole of Africa and number 5 in the world. And that was so giving us especially the younger generation, because as you know, she's 72 years young. That's what I said. She's 72 years young. So she obviously has some experience. And as I said in my promo, she has earned her place as an elder stateswoman. We had a little glitch in technology because of the rains at both ends, but we're glad to bring her back. Thank you so much for us back, ma'am. And thank you, ma'am. I'm wondering whether you did catch the clip that we had played, and how did that make you feel watching that?
Wonderful memories, wonderful memories. Absolutely.
It's so sad when we now think, of how or where we're at now. If way back in 1959, under your, late Papa Awolowo's leadership as premier, Western Nigeria were able to launch a TV #1 in Africa, #5 in the world, within 3 months. Where are we today? And on that note, but I still don't want us to lose the beauty of how we felt, watching that, because we did that. The generations ahead of us did that, and it's something to be very proud of. And we're hoping that we will be able to reverse and go back to those times and listen again to the words of Chief Awolowo and what he was enjoining us as, particularly Yoruba people, because that was Western region. And talking about Yoruba and Western region, what are your views, ma'am, on the ongoing global movement and agitation for a Yoruba nation, Odua Nation? It's all over the place. But you are in a good and very strategic position to not only share your own views, but also to point us in the direction moving forward. Over to you, ma'am.
Right. Thank you very much. That is the trending issue. That is the most important issue right now in Yoruba land. It was Papa who said that the success and stability of this country cannot be left to wishful thinking, but it has to be rooted in scientific and research-based thinking. And he went on to say that a unitary constitution cannot work in a situation where a federal system is what is needed. And he did his research of all nations of the world. And seriously, it was all nations of the world. If you read his book, you will see that he went through all the nations in the world one by one. And his conclusion was that any country that is multilingual, multicultural, must, by any means, be governed through a federal constitution. And suitability is so important in the constitution that any country runs. If the country runs a unitary system when it needs a federal system, it causes problems. It causes friction, it causes all sorts of problems. And the minute we change to the correct kind of constitution, all the frictions disappear, there's friendliness, and everything goes well. In Nigeria, we are a multilingual, multicultural, multinational country. And therefore, it is absolutely imperative that we go back to the federal constitution. We're not asking to go into uncharted waters. We're not asking to do something that has never been done before. We're actually asking to go back to an era that worked very well for everybody. It was an era where the regions had autonomy, substantial autonomy. They had their own constitution, they had their own flags, and they had substantial control over their own resources. And power generation as it was in the beginning. At that time, it was only ECN, the Electricity Corporation of Nigeria. A lot of young people won't recognize that name, ECN. It was only ECN that was authorized and licensed to generate power. But it wasn't working for the regions. So they collaborated. This is another very important point. They collaborated and made sure that the constitution was amended such that every region would have the power to generate, would have the authority to generate power. That worked. And in the Western region, rather than start afresh, what they did was to give a loan of, I think, 1.3 million pounds to ECN to do the job for them, interest-free for some years. And that worked very well. The other one was the commodity marketing boards were all under the authority of the federal government. Then the Action Group and the NCNC collaborated and made sure that those commodity boards were returned to the regions where they belonged. Yes, and what happened was that immediately a sum of 34 million pounds, which was no mean amount of money, was made available to the Western region. And between 1953 to 54, the revenue in the Western was in the region of about 5 million pounds or 6 million pounds. When this happened, the following year, they got in excess of 13 million pounds. Those were the sources from which free education and all the other things were able to do. So the resources that made it possible for the Western region to do all those things that they needed to do. So when you devolve power, you allow people to do what they need to do for themselves, and you give them control over their resources, then things go well. And at that time, once each region introduced something that was of benefit to their people, the other regions followed suit. It just happened that
So
a lot of times
there was like a healthy competition.
Healthy competition. And the beneficiaries of all of that were the ordinary folk.
The people.
The people for whom government is in place in the first place. The government is there to serve the people anyway. So,
yes.
So as far as I'm concerned, we need to revamp the Constitution and return to a federal constitution. And I think what is needed there is dialogue, collaboration. It's been done before. I've given you 2 examples now from the 50s. And I believe that there are very, very important, influential people in each zone that is invested in this idea. And if the majority is wants this to happen, then it will happen. In the 2014 conference, the recommendations were more or less what I'm talking about. That the federal constitution and with provisos for states that might struggle, that don't have resources. And by the way, there is no state in this country that doesn't have resources. Absolutely none. There's a list that's been going around of all the minerals and all the resources that can be found in every single state in this country. And so what we need is the will and the belief of everybody, because we started off with, just complaining. And by the way, the Yoruba people are very, very, very particular about justice. It is what they live and breathe. They can't stand injustice to anybody. In fact, I'm full of all these stories. If you give me the time, there was a time I was going in Lagos.
Today is dedicated. We have the time.
I was driving on Lagos Island, one of those tiny roads in Lagos Island, Nakose and all those areas. And one of the would be from the southeast, and everybody came out and descended on this taxi and make sure that he paid this trader something.
Very much for taking us through that. But I was also asking the question because a lot of people that are watching us now are asking, are you saying that we should just stay within this federal government of Nigeria, even though it doesn't seem to be working, rather than or republic, as it were?
Yes. Well, I'm a realist. That is the only option that I can see at the moment. Stay within and revamp the Constitution, because wanting to leave unilaterally sounds very much like secession to me. And I am not sure that violence is going to solve this. We've been down that road before. I don't think we will just get up today and say, okay, the Yoruba nation is leaving Nigeria, and everybody will say, okay, bye-bye, safe journey. I think it's going to involve a lot of bloodshed. And are we ready for that? That is my question. That's why I am a realist. I don't believe in fighting a battle or a war that you are not sure what the outcome is going to be. It's possible that there are things that I don't know, but from where I'm sitting, declaring war on the Nigerian nation at this point, which is what it would be tantamount to declaring. I mean, it's lovely. It sounds so liberating that, you know, okay, the Yoruba nation will stand on its own, etc. But what is the process by which that is going to happen? That is not going to involve bloodshed. And from my knowledge of Yoruba people, we are a very cautious, very calculating people. And if the Yoruba stand up and declare such a thing, I would like to think that it is because they have mapped out the process and have seen victory ahead. So other than that, I don't think it is impossible. I mean, I was reading something yesterday by somebody, I forget his name. He's the chairman of a group called the Dialogue Group in Kaduna. He's from Kaduna, and he was saying that Nigeria should break up together. Exactly. And yes, you hear sound bites like that. The Colonel Umar wrote a letter the other day and cautioned about lopsided appointments, etc. So sound bites are coming. If it is a situation where we all sit down around the table, all Nigerians, and say, actually, this marriage is not working, and agree to part amicably, then that's fine. Then that is what we all want. But I would not want to be part of anything that leads people into tragedy. So that's my view.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us and your thoughts on that. But from also hearing and what is trending, the people that are really agitating for the Odua Republic are the younger generation. Whether we like it or not, they are the majority of the population. And as far as they're concerned, a lot of them, since they were born, they haven't seen anything that is worth their wanting to see within this entity called Nigeria. That's one. Two, we know that even the Igbos have also been agitating for their Biafra Republic for a long while. Now, most recently, we've also been hearing from the north, the northerners who also want their Arewa Republic. So, as you rightfully said, maybe there's some things that is going on behind closed doors, or that we haven't really seen clearly yet. But the agitation is very real, and as you said, the Yorubas would not stand up to say they want to do something. They first win the battle in their mind, and then their very short war is then to won. It happened. What I would want you to now shed a little bit of light. Would you say it's because there's a difference between the older and younger generation of Nigerians and politicians?
Yes, and the older politicians were able to identify the problems of their day. It was freedom from poverty, freedom from ignorance, freedom from colonial rule, all those freedoms. Now, this generation, they also are at liberty. Of course, they should identify what the challenges of their own generation are. And it is up to them to determine, to decide how they're going to tackle those problems. If the majority want a separation, of course, I will go with it, if that is what they want. And if Nigerians, if the whole country has decided that, yeah, this is what is best for us, because let's face it, we started with complaining, we started murmuring, it graduated to complaints. Now it has become violent. And what is the next? So it is better for leaders of thought, to actually address this situation, address the problem in a very serious way. We need a strategic alliance. We need a strategic alliance of leaders of thought, traditional rulers, politicians, intellectuals, faith-based leaders, everybody, even the moneyed classes, they all need to come together and decide what is in the best interest of all of us. And if we come to the conclusion that actually it's best for everybody for us to part ways, of course. Of course.
Would you not agree, Ma, that for a way forward, would it not be, first of all, more just and fair if we say we are in a democratic run type of government, just as we go to the polls to elect who we want as our leaders? Could this not be put to the polls? Because at the end of the day, it's the people that are really agitating, majority of them the younger generation. Can we not go to the polls and vote? Do you want to stay?
Yeah.
Do you want to leave?
Yes, that would be the best thing. That's what is called a referendum. However, that's the best way. It is actually the best way. But before we do that, the electoral process has been so heavily compromised in Nigeria. So we need to make sure that the message, you see, in the past, we keep talking about the past. It's not that we want to go back to the past. It is just that it worked so well for them. There was such synergy between the leaders and the led.
And the people,
and
yes.
It was a partnership of equals. The led did not feel that they were subordinate, and the leaders did not treat them as subordinates either. It was a partnership. It was a partnership, and it was a contract between them. Okay, you go and lead, you do certain things for us.
Absolutely. Because when we yes, ma'am. I was saying that when you're very correct, ma'am, because when we think back to those days when, your father was in politics, I remember vividly, as a child, people would come into your home, come into our home. They didn't need to homes. There was nobody policing them. They were carrying guns. they have to obviously take their turn and, and wait for their turn to be seen. But just like right these days, the leaders are so far away from the led, hence the discord, hence the agitation, hence the lack of trust. And for the younger generation, they are probably not as patient as my generation or your generation. They're not that patient because they have a global network. They are in touch with their peers from across the world through things. The more able to talk about issues concern in various places. And I think for a fact that when they have these conversations and they find out what is going on at your end is as bad as what's going on at our end, forget the fact that we're the Western world and we're supposed to be more civilized. It seems the younger generation are those generations that have kind of been boxed into a corner, and they are so angry. I remember there was a bunch of students that I deliver a training for, and I was asking them, "Oh, who would you call your heroes, or the people that you would say you want to emulate?" I was very shocked. These were students from age 13 to 17, so they were secondary students. This was in Nigeria, and I was very, very. First of all, I was shocked, but I was also very heartbroken from what they said. They said, "Oh, none of you adults." I said, "What?" They said, "None of you adults in Nigeria, that all the adults that meant anything have all gone. They're all dead. So all these adults now that are rulers, that are, governors or presidents, etc., that they don't do anything for us. They don't even know we exist." That was what I took with me. They said they were convinced that these leaders don't know that we, the younger generation, exist. Now, there's something else that they said that is when I became very heartbroken. And they said, "Ma'am, we want you adults, you grown-ups, to remember that one day we will be in the positions that you are, and we will show you." That totally freaked me out. These are teenagers between age 13 and 17. So what is it that we have done to make our youths have that kind of mindset? And these are the ones that are even in school. How about the millions that are not in, education? And that's why I was saying that the younger generation. So maybe there's something that you would like to say to the young, because we have hundreds of people watching now, quite a number of them younger generation. There's something you'd like to say to them, because what they have said is real and it's true. None is a lie.
Well, there's a lot of blame game going on at the moment. How do I put this without sounding? I also have talked to quite a number of young people, a little older than the demography, than the teenagers, people in university. And I was speaking to some dear children of mine. They're students at one of the premier universities in Nigeria, and they were very, very honest with me. And I said, "What is your vision for the future of Nigeria, and how do you want to actualize it?" And they said to me, "Mommy, most of our peers just want to make money." So that's another section of of the young people.
But where would you say they got that from? They got it from the society.
Now, they got it from society. That is what they have seen. That is what they have grown up to see. If they feel angry towards the older generation, your generation, my generation, generation younger than us, those in their 50s and 60s, or maybe a little older than us too. The reason why they feel angry is because they hear snippets. They don't know enough about the history of Nigeria, that is for sure. But they hear snippets of the benefits that our generation enjoyed. And they feel that we kind of are like the Dead Sea that took and took and took and took and have given nothing back. So they have a right to feel angry in that sense. But I do say that what they need to do is not enough to be angry. Because I'm sure young people in the colonial days were also very angry. But a few of them sat down, defined their problems, strategized. They defined their problems, designed solutions, and strategized as to how to bring those to. That is what they need to do. It's a lot of work. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to come on a platter of gold. They're going to have to work hard. And it's not going to involve everybody, because even as we speak, if there's an election tomorrow in Nigeria,
yes, ma'am,
there's a horde of young people that have been so they have no power. They have been so disempowered. Right. They have they have very little knowledge. They are unable, little education, because education is not just the 3 hours. Education is to help you to think widely, deeply, out of the box, and to think intelligently. These people are unable to do that. If there's an election tomorrow, you will see them line up to take 2,000 naira and vote. There are so many of them like that. Only a few that are educated and are able to think. There are a few of them. But what I say is that you don't need a multitude. You need a critical mass of people who can think deeply. I read once in a while some young people that have been thinking, and there are one or two come to my consciousness. I don't know them. I wish I did. Once this is over, I try and make contact with them. They need to find one another and think through their problems, because it's their world going forward. They need to find one another, think through their problems, strategize as to how to get out of their problems. That is what they need to do. And they need to be selfless about it. Too many times with our generation and with those immediately after, it's either money or position. They're already angling something. There's an angle to their activism. And that is not working. There's an agenda. That's why we don't have enough of selfless people like they were in those days. The rich just gave them money to carry on. They were not contractors. They did not look for contracts. They just were all invested in this vision that this place must progress and we must move forward. And they all gave everything that they had. Those that had talents. Am I with you?
I'm listening very attentively.
Yes. those that have talents, those that are politicians, those. Chief Awolowo was not the most prominent of them all, but they looked around and saw something in him and chose him and said, you are the one that is going to lead this. He was a provincial person. He wasn't a Lagos elite. But they were also invested in moving on, that they were willing to sacrifice and to be selfless. And this is what they have to do. This is what they absolutely have to do. And they will have to work hard and think hard. And it's not a tea party. It's not going to be
at all
hard. So it's because there's a lot of obstacles on the way, and they have to be courageous. They have to have tons and tons of courage in order to do any of this. So that is really what I would like to say to them. And as I've said it so many times, they don't have to be many. Jesus had only 12 disciples. He ended up with 11. They're still shaking the world today. And don't write anybody off. It may be the person who you think is useless, that is against this thing, might get their own epiphany and end up doing more than everybody else. So they have to be open-minded. They have to be laser focused on their goal. Laser focused. And that is what they must always look at. All the time. Refuse to be distracted. I say all
and also probably not get too emotive or emotional.
No,
because sometimes that makes us lose focus, as you've said.
Lose focus. They must be so focused, and so determined to get to their goal. And these are young people who are better exposed, better educated than we ever were, or the old ones ever were. And so they have the tools, they have the networks to do what they want to do. And once they have the will and the determination, I'm sure they'll get there.
Thank you so much, ma'am. But thank you very much, and I'm sure our younger generation viewers that are watching have been able to take a few nuggets on board from what you had to share with them just now, because that is so key. And if I can recap what you said briefly, you said, first of all, to be able to identify what the challenges are. They also have to be very strategic in how they plan to find solutions. And once that is done, they need to be laser focused to going forward and moving forward to what we will call the promised land that they envisage in their minds. And thank you so much, ma'am. Still talking about Nigeria and June 12th. My next question is about today, really. And to other people around the world, it's just another day, the 12th of June. But to us in Nigeria, June 12 holds something significant. So my question is the June 12 ideology still relevant in the Nigeria of today? And if so, what are the pros and cons of this? Apart from the fact that one of the governments, I can't remember which particular one, declared this day as Democracy Day, what exactly have we been able to achieve from pushing this ideology of June 12th? Over to you, ma'am.
Well, the most important achievement is that we're now democratically governed. We've had democracy since 1999. That I think is the greatest benefit from this. Democracy remains the best form with all the freedoms that it offers. It can be misused. It can be usually does in Nigeria, but we keep going. We keep working on it. But the greatest problem is leadership recruitment to drive this democracy forward. Because democracy now, unfortunately, has been so heavily monetized. That is a pity. I don't think the people who fought this, it's been heavily, it's been heavily monetized, and the is that it's almost like a hard-headed investment program. You know, you invest money to contest for elections or to support a particular candidate, and you expect returns.
Yes.
The who invest in the candidates expect returns. The candidate himself expects returns, and because the electorate has been paid to vote them in, they feel no compunction whatsoever, ignoring them for the time they're in office. So I don't know how that can be changed. But these are, fine ways by which democracy can be fine-tuned. We continue to fine-tune it, and until we get it to
the promised land,
where it it approximates the ideal that we want. I don't think that a lot of the time we select or elect the best candidates that are available to us. But because it is all about money, I'm afraid this is what we get. But as I said, we keep going. The ethos of June 12, yes, is still alive. We still want democracy. We want to be free to elect our leaders, even if all we do is to sell our votes for now. A time will come when we will learn that it's not the best way to go, and then we will change again and do it better. So yeah, it's those are the pros and cons as I can see.
Thank you so much,
The pro
ma'am.
is that democracy is good. The con is that it's become monetized, but we can work on it.
But it can still be salvaged.
Yes, it can
still be salvaged.
Yes.
There's also a question that one of our viewers has asked, and I believe it's another person from the younger generation, and I'm just going to read. It says, it's similar to one of the questions I was thinking of asking, that after so many years that we have been able to get from under the colonial masters, as a nation, we don't seem to be moving forward at all, especially now that we just played back that clip of the WNTV way back in 1959. That person is saying, wow, that was before they were born. They didn't even know that Nigeria did such amazing things back then. So how come in 2020, you know, we can't even, when we're looking at which countries have television as a technology, Nigeria can't even, we're not even talking about the independently owned TV channels or radio, we're talking about the government owned ones, federal and state. And they're asking, it seems as if, just like I was also saying yesterday, we're taking one step forward and 20 steps backwards. As comical as it sounds, it is the truth. What is it that can be done for us to have sustainability? Even if you cannot maybe improve on something, don't regress. Why are we regressing? What seems to be the challenge there?
The challenge is leadership. The challenge is leadership, selfless leadership. If we have leaders that are determined to take this country forward and to keep taking it forward, then it wouldn't be this difficult. That clip you showed is part of a whole CD, which in fact,
I just took a bit of it out.
I'll tell you the story behind that CD. It was a video, VHS video that I had. And it was practically the last item I threw into my box when I was going to Holland.
Okay.
And so when I got there and I left Holland, I decided that I just wanted to go back to medicine. I went to the UK. I had it changed to a DVD. And the gentleman, the young man that did it for me, the day I went to collect it, by the way, when I now brought it back for the 50th anniversary of television in Nigeria, which coincided with Papa's centenary, some state functionaries, some functionaries of states that were there asked me for it, and I was flabbergasted that these things disappeared from the archives. That was the only one that survived, and I'm glad we put it out there on our website and it's now gone viral. I'm so glad. The young man asked, the day I went to collect it, the young man asked me, he said, well, your country seems to have achieved so much in the past. Why are you still in? And I had no answer. I said, well, I can't answer that. Now, in 1961, South Korea had a GDP per capita of $72. Nigeria had a per capita $103. By 2000, South Korea 30,000. Nigeria was $500. By South Korea, OECD. What happened? Between 1961 and 1997, South Korea put in place a formidable program of human development. They just went for it. Education, health, it was like a military campaign. They went for it and just developed everybody, and it was multidisciplinary, multi-sectoral. It involved the universities, it involved the industries. The industries worked together with the universities to tell them what skills they needed in industry. Absolutely. So that they didn't turn out people with philosophy degrees and so it was so they were so committed to it, and that was because of the leader that they had at the time. The same thing in Singapore, the same thing. Malaysia came here to take palm seedlings.
Palm. I can never forget that.
So you know, but today they are also up there. In 1955, the Western region was spending about 28% of their budget on education. In 2016, Nigeria was spending 6% on health. The Western region was spending 10%. By 2010 or 2016, Nigeria was spending 4%. So you can see it's a question of priorities. We got our priorities wrong. And we just kind of missed the boat. But I mean, no country misses the boat permanently. You can always regroup.
Hope is not lost.
No, it's never lost. So you can always refocus. It's a question. There's no country that has enough for all its needs. It's always a question of priority, and that is what it is. So that's it's the short answer to your question is it's a question of leadership and prioritization.
And maybe, if you don't mind me adding, and also followership, because sometimes
certainly the followership.
Sometimes followers, you know.
We've talked about it. The followership are just they are just gone to sleep. They don't ask questions. There is like supplicatory docility, groveling sycophancy that just doesn't work. Yeah, and so, but what amazes me is that in those days, the followership, the electorate were not as educated in book terms as they are now.
But they were
they knew exactly.
They were very clued up. Very clued up.
They knew exactly what they wanted, and they were nobody's fool. They did not feel inferior or subservient to anyone. But
would you then say, ma'am? Would you then say, ma'am, because what you just said now strikes a chord, a very strong chord, to me as a Yoruba person. Doesn't that show us that before the advent of the Western world, we as a people had our ways, how we ruled, how we led our people, how the led also participated in governance, and how back in the day it was obviously monarchs, how the monarchs would not go ahead and just do things willy-nilly without carrying the 7 main chiefs that were in the council with the Oba and the people. They wouldn't do anything without carrying the people along. And there was no Western education, as you rightfully mentioned, ma'am, at the time. But these were highly intelligent people, some of them millionaires in their own rights back then, from their farming or trading or whatever it is that we're doing. But we had order. We had order. We understood how things were to be done and how things should be run. Is it that the Yoruba have thrown this away, as in the baby, the bathwater, and the tub, all away?
Well, I have to agree with you. We've lost our way. We really lost our way, because there's a book by a lady called Insanorte. It's about the social and political setup in Yoruba land, with emphasis on Remo. and it's a very interesting book that shows actually that democracy has been at work in our traditional setting long before the colonial
colonizers
came in. And even when during the, I suppose, the First Republic in the 50s in elections, there was a case of an Oba in Remo here that called his people to a town hall meeting the day before an election and said, no, you must vote for a particular party. That is what I want, and etc., etc. Of course, nobody argued. And when it came and the results were counted, the party that he didn't want won 99% of them.
The people had spoken.
Of course, and the following day he declared for that party. The Oba declared for that party.
So the might of the people.
Oh my goodness, that was Yoruba people, and you remember they had their inner caucus, they had their cabinet, the Oshugbo.
Yes.
Without whom the Oba couldn't just do anything, and the people that were elected into the Oshugbo, they were never elected because they had money. They were always people, one, who had high integrity. And two, most importantly, people who the people knew that if there was a problem in town and this person had his own problem, he would put his own problem aside and solve the problem of the town first.
Of the people.
Yes.
So also reliability.
Reliability and selflessness. Those were and if anyone tried to buy their way through, they laughed at and you know, so it was never part of our culture. How we lost that is beyond me. I think we lost that recently, because when I was in politics, I still had people who came to meetings in my, in my group, as they were called at that time, came to meetings, and every time they would raise their hand and say, we are not comfortable coming to this kind of meeting because we come here, we sit on chairs, we don't know who pays for these chairs. We drink Coke, we don't know who pays for this Coca-Cola. We are used to going to belonging to parties where we pay our dues.
They wanted a stake. They wanted a stake.
We have a say, and we can say what we want. And I always used to say, well, this is just a political association. That was in the days before the parties were formed.
The ban was lifted.
Yes. So those were my explanations. But then, it then graduated from that, and people were actually paid to come to those meetings and paid to do everything. Yeah. And so I don't know how we can get out of it, but these young people can.
They can.
Because they are in the majority, they can actually invade all these political parties and go in their large numbers and make their numbers count.
Because politics, as they say, is a game of numbers.
Game of numbers. It's a game of numbers, and so they can make their numbers count. And if they're not welcome in some political parties, they can set up their own. Chief Awolowo set up his own.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, even though we know this is about Nigeria, but we also know that Nigeria cannot be in isolation, just as we as individuals cannot be in isolation. There's another thing that's been trending across the world, especially obviously it started from the United States when Mr. George Floyd was sadly murdered in broad daylight. Even with that going on, we also were reading other things that were trending from Nigeria of people who were also being murdered, young girls that were being raped and killed. For us as a, what would you say should be done? Because it's especially it's all in the midst of COVID-19, so the world has COVID-19 to deal with. We're all dealing with that, and you would know more about that being a medical doctor. And then we have these other things that are also threatening to one's life. So young people can no longer go out again. This particular young girl went to a church to study. That gives one palpitations just to even think about it. That was one issue and a case that we heard about. How about the hundreds that we don't even get to know about? We just know that that person is missing, or they find their body somewhere. Where would you say the world generally, because it's not only America, it's not only about Britain or Nigeria, there are instances across the world. Where have we gone wrong as human beings? Why do we have this onslaught in the world, but most importantly, in our own home base, Nigeria?
There's this casualness about taking life, about taking human life. There's a kind of casual attitude towards taking life. I must be honest with you, I don't know where this came from. I do know that part of it is that in Nigeria, I'm talking about Nigeria, this inordinate lust for wealth. There's a lot of what they call people just take lives in order to make money. A lot of that goes on. There's a lot of crime goes on, a lot of kidnapping, a lot of, in fact, it's terrible. I just don't even want to talk about it. And people have come to think that it's okay to do those things because society worships money and doesn't ask where the money comes from. As a matter of fact, the most shameful thing that can happen to you, as I see it, in Nigeria today is to not have money. Maybe be rich before and not have enough to dispense again. That is what people
it's like a crime.
It's a crime. It's that's what people find most shameful. And people just spend money and they worship people who have this money, and that is the God with a small g that people worship. It is most unfortunate. And I just think that the best way is enlightenment and generally retraining the minds of young people to realize that actually the most important things in this life are those things that cannot be bought with money. things like love for fellow human beings, the love of your spouse, the love of your parents, the love of friends, and so many other things that cannot be bought with money. And they need to be taught that, and they need to be shown examples of where money actually would be nothing. I have another story. When I have to apologize that I refer to Papa a lot, but he's my role model.
That's your dad, and also the first mentor you ever had.
Yes.
Any young girl would look up to their dad.
Yes. Many years ago, when he wanted to he used to go to Jerusalem on pilgrimage once in a while. And every time he went, he used to go with an entourage. He used to take people from church, who he wanted to encourage in the Christian faith, just to be a kind of reward. So there were in excess of 20 of them that were going with him. And in those days, you had to apply for foreign exchange, and it was sold to you in the form of traveler's checks. You remember traveler's checks?
Yes, ma'am.
You had to go to the bank to go and sign. You take your passports along, you sign traveler's checks.
Your passport has to be stamped.
And all the documents and everything had to be properly done. But because Papa was who he was, the bank made an exception and said, okay, gather everybody in your house in Papa, and we will bring one of our staff, or two of them will come. They will process all the papers, all the passports, everything, and they will just bring everything back, and everybody would sign their traveler's checks in the presence of the bank staff. On the way from the bank, the bag that contained all the passports and all the documentation and all the unsigned traveler's checks, because unsigned traveler's checks are as good as cash. Anybody that gets it can sign it. And double sign it. And that bag was snatched. It was stolen.
Oh dear.
And this was like a couple of days before they were due to travel. So you had the problem of not only getting the money, but how do you get the passports and the visas back? So when they got to the house and there was commotion, what to do? Within about 15, 20 minutes, somebody then looked at the, outside the security lodge and saw a bag, and what's this bag? And they picked up that bag, and lo and behold, everything was in there. It was the stolen. Not a single passport was lost. Not a single sheet of traveler's was lost. Now,
wow.
How can you buy that kind of, I suppose, love, respect from the people who stole it? Yes. Yeah, I suppose they saw his name.
They must have opened the bag and seen.
Absolutely, and saw his passport. That we can't do this to this person. So it's people need to be taught. Young people need to be taught. And money is not everything. And I think that they have become ruthless, not only because they're looking for money, but also because they just feel like orphans, that the society hasn't given them anything. They're hardened, and they talk to one another. There are cults in schools, even in primary schools, there are cults. And so on, and parents are not there a lot of the time to mentor their children. Parents are out looking for their daily bread, etc. And it's all gone bad. But a lot can be done. A lot can be done by schools. A lot can be done by faith-based organizations to reorientate these children, because there's a lot of they're kind of ruthless and it's a problem.
It's a very disheartening state of affairs.
It is very disheartening state of affairs. It's quite different from racism. What is happening in Nigeria is different from racism. It's a whole different, and in a way, the it has kind of thrown it up again, brought it into bold relief, and people are discussing it more and thinking about it more and reconsidering. And I actually think that the case of Amy Cooper is very important, because I'm certain that she shocked herself by what she did. If she was told a day before or even minutes before that she would do that, I'm sure she would argue. Because I gather she's liberal, she's, she would consider herself non-racist. And the reason why I mention is that I suspect that the vast majority of people who believe that they are non-racist are probably in the same category. And maybe they are, maybe they're not, but there must be a number that would, when push comes to shove, would knee-jerk reflex, would behave how Amy Cooper did, and that again has been put into bold relief, and people will now reconsider. And I'm really gratified that a lot of the anger and outrage has been expressed in Europe and America. I'm a bit disheartened that not enough has been done in Africa, but maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there's a reason for that, but I think a lot of reflection is going to go on in private hearts, in group discussions, and I'm hoping that it will change things for the better.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We're talking about what has happened thus far and the kind of crimes that are also committed against young people, particularly young girls, females. From your perspective, because you've worked both in the public and private sectors, you've also had the opportunity to go abroad to work, as in your capacity, not only as a professional, but as a woman. Would you say women in Nigeria have been accorded the same acknowledgement and similar respect as their male counterparts?
No, they haven't. This is a totally male-dominated society, and no apologies about it. In business, only 20% of businesses in the formal sector are headed by women. Only about 11% of board directors are women. Nigeria has the lowest percentage of female representation in parliament in sub-Saharan Africa, certainly in the West African sub-region, and we rank 133rd in the world
in
terms of female representation in parliament. So, and 60% of the out-of-school children before COVID, of course, about 13 million children as of maybe a year or two ago, out-of-school children in Nigeria, 60% of them are girls. So, what more can I say? We're just not there. And those who try to make an impact are maligned a lot of the time. They are given names. And
told to stay in their places, know their places.
Exactly. And they're accused of all sorts of things. So, no, women are not given the...
And I'll tell you why I asked that question, ma'am. And that's why I first said you have actually been, you've worked in both the public and the private sector, and you've also had the opportunity to serve Nigeria abroad, so in another climate. And it's very, very sad that that's the... There was something else you said earlier when we were talking about the Yoruba Nation and how the Yorubas conducted their affairs in ancient times, in olden times. Then you mentioned the Oshubo. There was still a space that was kept for the female chief, who was a member of the parliament, because it was believed, the Yoruba believe that it's the female that helps them to test the pulse of the people. It's the woman that will come back to tell the Kabiyesi and his cabinet, this is what the people are saying, this is how they feel. And now maybe you'll understand why a lot of Yorubas feel very uncomfortable in this men place or space, because our values, our ethics, our etiquette, the traditions we have, our culture, our mindset is governed by what we have inherited from our ancestors and how things were done properly. Sadly, there's no record of founding fathers or founding mothers who sat to mutually agree the coming together of all the three regions formed Nigeria. This was foisted on us by the colonial masters. And probably that is why we have these kind of challenges. And it also shows in the totality of it when we see very minimal number of women being allowed or being given the opportunity to serve. We tend to forget that this same female or girl child is what our mothers were, what we were before to become women and mothers. Mothers are the ones that run a home. It doesn't matter how intelligent or big the man of the house is, he's the head, he'll be accorded respect. But the woman was the one that kept everything in order. The woman is the one that gives birth to children, male and female. And it seems a very easy thing or simple thing to get into our mind. I'm not sure at what point we chuck that away, especially and my apologies to any men that are watching, but that seems to be the order of the day. When I'm called to speak, I always say to know the character of a boy child until he becomes a man. Show me the female in his life. Who was his grandma? Some even have grandmoms. His mother, his sisters that he grew up with, his aunties, his female cousins, his siblings that were female, that means his sisters. Then the wife he eventually marries, or or the wives, depending on if the person is polygamous. Who's his daughter? Who's his female colleagues? Who's his girlfriend? His mistress, his side chick? Because all these females, as comical as it might sound when I mention girlfriends and side chicks and mistresses, all females exist in the life of a male from the time he was born till he becomes a man. So 2 things I want to bring out here, man, and I would love your views on them. One, we can see that there can never be a man, any man, without a woman. From the giving birth to the nurturing, to the raising, to the training, to the getting ready to go into the world. It boils down to the female, to the mother, or whoever that female is that helped nurture that child. On the flip side, what are we then doing as the girl child who becomes the woman and the mother and all these other females that I mentioned? We tend to forget that we have a key role in the life of any boy child until he becomes a woman. What are we doing? Are we raising monsters?
I agree with you.
We also have daughters. We ourselves become wives. We have sisters who will marry or date. Do we take all that into consideration when we're raising our boys and our sons to becoming men who will ultimately become leaders of corporations or even countries, presidents, governors, senators, etc.? What is your mindset on those 2 aspects, ma'am?
I was going to go back to that point, but you've articulated it very, very well. A lot depends on mothers. There are, well, maybe they no longer behave like that. There used to be mothers who would serve their children food, get their daughters to assist in the kitchen, to serve the food, get their daughters to clear up and wash up, and not that is wrong. The boys included, they must share it equally.
Thank you, ma'am.
They begin
God
to
bless you, ma'am.
develop. They begin to develop a respect for girls, for the female child, or for the female in their lives as they grow up. Because sometimes these boys are younger than the daughters that are made to wait on them hand and foot. That is so wrong. Every child should be taught to do that. And then from a very, very young age, every boy must be taught to respect girls, to respect them as equals, as important members of the human race. And to regard them as equals, as I said, so that they don't see them as chattels or as people to be beaten black and blue or to be treated badly. Because I don't know, I didn't grow up in a polygamous home, but I don't believe even the people, the men who were polygamous in those days, I don't think they made it a point of duty to ill-treat their wives in those days. I think they had a measure of respect for their wives and they treated them well. And so from a very tender age, every boy must be told that you must respect her body, you must respect her decisions, you must respect her no, and you must respect her yes. You have no right to violate the space of any other human being, male or female. They have to be taught that, and that depends on mothers and fathers.
Absolutely.
They have to be taught that. They have to be taught that. And women also should be taught to protect themselves, to say no, to speak out when anything threatens their
space.
They must be, yes, they must be taught. And I love this idea of passwords. They must be taught how to say no to strangers, no matter what, and to take care of themselves and all of this. There's a lot of material online now. There are songs to teach little children about their bodies, that nobody is allowed to touch certain parts of their bodies, nobody is allowed to invade their space, and how they must speak out. There's a lot of resource online for even young people, and as they grow up, age appropriate trainings for children. Yes, there's a lot of information, and I think that is a good thing. But parents have the primary role to play, absolutely, and of course schools. And parents have to be more involved in the school as well. They have to be more involved in what goes on in school, even at the risk of becoming a nuisance. It's better to be called a nuisance
than to be sorry.
Than to be sorry.
Thank you.
So that's my view on that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, madam. I'm hoping that all females out there have listened to our special guest as she's been taking us down, memory lane and also present times. We're going to be wrapping up very soon. I have only about 2 or so questions for our special guest. If you're tuning in, you can still watch this again because we put it on Watch Party, we put it on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and we continue sharing it. This is Odua Legend, where we put the spotlight on those that we call legends of Odua. That is the descendants of Odua and the Yoruba Nation. And our special guest today is none other than Ambassador Dr. Tokunbo Awolowo Dosumu, the last baby and last daughter of Papa Awolowo, that's Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who was Western Nigeria's first premier and an astute political leader during his time. And of course, her dear mother, Chief Mrs. Awolowo, that we all refer to as HID, both of them of blessed memory. Now, sis, I've got 2 more questions, as I said. From your growing up with your parents, and even up to now, because you still carry memories. I mean, the clip we showed earlier, when you came on, I saw the sparkle in your eyes, because it must have taken you down to that glorious day back then. And our prayers that Nigeria will be able to embrace that glory again. But more specifically towards yourself now, what would you say are the things that you've learned from your beloved parents, that's both Chief Obafemi Awolowo and Chief Mrs. HID Awolowo? So first, let's start with Mama, because they say first, what would you say is one thing? Obviously, you've learned so many things from your parents. They were your first mentors, they were your first role models. But what is one thing that you got from Mama HID that you carry with you every day?
Gentle, quiet strength. She was a formidable lady, but she was very gentle, very quiet, said very little if she didn't have to speak. But she knew exactly where she was going. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. And she was no pushover. So I take that from her. She was a very strong woman, very strong. But she kept it to herself. Even in the home, you know, she ruled the roost. But she didn't say much. Whenever there was argument, she kept quiet. But she would bring the matter back when the time was right. And she often got her way. She was yeah, that's the one thing I have learned from her. I have to confess that I learned that even more since she passed on.
Passed. Oh,
Well,
wow.
she passed. It was after she passed that, you know, hindsight is always a very fine thing. And then I realized that Mama was something else. She was an incredible lady. And she was a fantastic helpmeet for her husband. She fell in with everything that he wanted to do. She was supportive of everything that he wanted to do. She never, ever, ever withdrew her support for any reason. For example, after the crisis of 1962 to 1966, any average woman would refuse the mention of politics in her home ever again. Ever again. But as soon as Papa came back, and he, even before the ban was lifted, he became active. Mama was right there, front and center.
Beside him.
And oh my goodness, she was there. It was never, why should we do this? It was always, what do you want me to do? So, you know, she was a fabulous, fabulous woman. So to put it, the short answer is quiet, gentle strength. That is what I learned from her.
What is that one thing that you carry with you till today?
I'll ask you to let me take that to two.
Okay.
Is the first one? So the first one is an unambiguous clarity about his mission in life and his vision. He was very, very clear in his mind about what he was here in this world to do. And the second thing is his amazing courage to follow his vision and to push his mission forward. He had incredible courage. He had what a pastor described to me one day as reckless faith in God. And that is the kind of faith that says, what I'm doing is God's will for my life, and therefore He will look after me. I will not perish with it. And that was what he was. That was who he was.
Wow.
And he
Wonderful.
did.
Wonderful. Would you say though the shoes, well, I shouldn't even say that because I do know that the shoes are quite large, but in a way somewhat you've been able to step in those large shoes, just like our own children will wear our shoes when they're young and still manage to walk in it, doing your bit your way.
Right. Maybe I would say I protected those shoes and kept them safe. Walking in those shoes is too much. I just put a protective cover on those shoes and kind of
and you take a look at them. You take a look at them from time to time.
Exactly, and offer them to whoever feels that they want
they are
able to carry on in it. Papa, there's only one of each one of us, and so he was unique. He was unique. He did what he was sent here to do, and that's it. I will just hope that there's something.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, two more questions. Now, coming to you personally, from your journey, earning your stripes as an elder stateswoman, and that's coming from me to you, because 72 is not beans and dodo. You have, done your bit, both professionally in the medical field, as a diplomat when you served, as a politician, and also still doing what you're doing as a director of the Awolowo Foundation, not forgetting your role as a wife, as a mother, as a grandmother. So you have earned your badge as an elder stateswoman. And looking back, what would you say is your philosophy towards life? Just like mom and dad, would you say it one word or two?
I believe in a simple life. I believe in doing what is right. I believe in not following the multitude just because it is fashionable. And I believe in integrity. I believe in service to others. And I do believe very strongly that the most important things in this life are those things that money cannot even touch.
Money.
No. And I believe in a simple life. That's me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to wrap up, what is your message to those watching us, be they of the Yoruba Nation, the Nigerian nation itself, and even the global community of Pan-Africans? Because as we know, a very high percentage of those that were carted away from West Africa were mostly of the Yoruba race. What would be your message and your last word to them and our viewers?
Today, Africa is often seen as the basket case of the world. And I believe that that description shouldn't belong to us, that we have the capacity, the resources, material and human, to make a difference to our continent and to cause the world to sit up and take notice and respect us. But we have to do it ourselves. We absolutely have to remember who we are, where we are coming from, and what we are capable of. And we have to allow the best hands to take charge of this continent so that we can be a continent to be reckoned with in the world. I know we can do it. I know we know where things have gone wrong. I know that we know what is wrong in Africa, and we know exactly how to fix it. I just want all of us to sum up the courage to stand up and do the right thing so that future generations can applaud us and future generations can have a continent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to host you. As they say, when something beautiful is happening, we don't know how time flies. We have taken over 2 hours of your time, but we are so grateful and we're so thankful as well that you made the time to speak with us. I'm not sure if you have just one word or two for the management of Heritage Multimedia Television that made this conversation possible.
I do. I am so proud of all of you for doing what you're doing. You have stepped into a medium that is so crowded, but you have done it undaunted. You have moved in and you have made an impact because you have been focused, you have been courageous, and you have been determined. I thank you for inviting me to come on this program. And I do know that you have spoken to so many illustrious sons and daughters of Nigeria and of Africa. And I just wish you the very best as you move forward. I wish you every success, outstanding success, because you deserve it. Because you're doing something that other people may have told you you can't do it, it is too difficult, but you're doing it and you're making waves. I wish you well. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much indeed. God bless you on behalf of Heritage Television and our multitude of viewers. Once again, I'd want to, this is orange juice though, but I'd want to raise a toast to you as one of our great elders, one of our, great elder states. Yes, ma'am. Elders on attaining your position as an elder stateswoman, for continuing to carry on the legacy of Papa Awolowo and Mama HID Awolowo. For most importantly, to me personally, being a proud daughter of Remo Kingdom, that we both share our heritage from. Thank you indeed. May God bless you. May you continue to arise and may you continue to soar. And may God bless you with many, many more years ahead. We'll continue to reach out to you as and when we need to, because we know that your doors are open to us. And I pray that all that you've shared with us today, those that have watched, the eyes that have watched this, the ears that have heard, will be able to take nuggets of wisdom with them and try to translate their lives to being better people, better human beings and loving one another just as you have advised us to do. God bless you, ma'am. Thank you indeed for being one of our legends on Odua Legend tonight and for being my guest on Arise Conversations. God bless you indeed.
Thank you very much. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking for over 2 hours with the one and only Dr. Ambassador Odua Tokunbo Awolowo Dosumu, the last daughter of the late sage Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who was Western Nigeria's first premier, and his wonderful wife, Mrs. H.I.D. Awolowo. We hope you've been able to take on some nuggets, as I said. The beauty about what we do on Heritage Television is you can go back and watch again. We're on all the social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. I hope we've been able to do justice to this conversation. We'll take time to look at all your comments and your questions. And if there are any questions that you need us to direct to Dr. Tokunbo Awolowo Dosumu, we will do so. And if she has responses for you, we will let you know. Thank you again for being our guests. Thank you to our team, our technical team, Mr. Ade Whiskey Thomas, his beautiful wife, Olori Esther Thomas. Thank you also to our partners, Yoruba World Congress, Mr. Tajuddin, for being here with us, and each and every one of you who's tuned in to listen, to watch, and to support. As I always say, do take care of yourselves and each other. Until same time, same place, continue to arise as agents of positive change. And to Nigerians, I say, Happy Democracy Day. God bless you all. Thank you.
ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ jùmọ̀ kọ orin ilẹ̀ Yorùbá àwa ni ògo adúláwọ̀.
Heritage ti dé. Aba Remedy ló sọ pé àìsàn níṣe wa. Ṣọ́múròrò àwọn ká pẹ̀lú ẹ̀dá o. Orí fífọ́ ò dáa. Máa ń pa wá ó ṣe kókó fámọ́ ọkùnrin. Diabetes ò dáa. Lùmọ̀lẹ́gùn ò dára káyé má bá wa jà o.
àbí o kẹlẹ kálàfíà wọ́n má di fíafíà o. ilé iṣẹ́ abárẹ̀mẹ̀dì ṣe ń fọn eré ẹ̀ pé ká tọ́jú ara wa pẹ̀lú àwọn òògùn ìbílẹ̀ tiwantiwa. egbògi ilẹ̀ Yorùbá pọ́nbélé tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ fáwọn onírúurú àìsàn bíi ẹ̀jẹ̀ ríru, high blood pressure, ìtọ̀ ṣúgà, diabetes, ẹ̀fọ́rí túlù, migraine, àwọ̀ká, arthritis, nárùn, body inching, ṣọmúlọ́rọ̀ àtẹ̀dá tó dààmú àwọn obìnrin. Yorùbá natural herbal remedy ló lè yanjú ẹ̀. manpower ọkùnrin làdá tó ń fáwọn ọkùnrin lágbára láti ṣojú ṣe wọn lọ́dọ̀ àwọn aya wọn. ọ̀sẹ̀ àánú náà wà Mercy Soap fún gbogbo ẹni tó fẹ́ràn àánú gbà. herbal remedy láti lè ṣe HeritageTV London. ẹ lè rí àláwọ̀ àdírẹ́sì tó ń kọjá lójú wòran yìí tàbí kẹ́ ẹ pè nọ́mbà yìí +44 777 8957 893. lè ṣe HeritageTV London ló ń pariwo wípé àìsàn àtàrùn onífàgọ́ ara wa ṣe bùgbé o.
Ọmọlẹ́kùn dára káyé bá bá wa jọ. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, land of glory, Jerusalem, holy land, and a visit to Jerusalem.
ní àwọn tó ti wà ní àkọsílẹ̀ tí a sì ń jẹ́rìí rẹ̀ wípé òdodo ni àǹfààní ńlá ló ṣí sílẹ̀ fún ọ láti wọ̀lú Ísírẹ́lì ìrìn àjò ọlọ́jọ́ 10 sí ìlú mímọ́ ní Jerusalem. ìwọ náà rí fúnra rẹ̀ àwọn ibi tó ti kà nínú Bíbélì. orí òkè Nebo ní àdójúkọ Jericho níbi tí Ọlọ́run ti fi gbogbo ilẹ̀ lérí hàn Mósè. Deuteronomy chapter 34 verse 1 to 12. àfonífojì Élà níbi tí Dáfídì ti ṣẹ́gun Gòláyátì. 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 1 to 5. òkun Gálílì níbi tí Jésù ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ ìránṣẹ́. Luke chapter 4 verse 14 to 15. Kánà àti Galilee níbi tí Jésù ti ṣiṣẹ́ ìyanu àkọ́kọ́ ó somi di wáìnì. Jòhánù orí kejì ẹsẹ̀ kìíní sí kẹwàá. odò Jọ́dánì níbi tí Jòhánù onítẹ̀bọmi ti baptisi Jésù. Matthew chapter 3 verse 13. ilé tí Jósẹ́fù àti Màríà ìyá Jésù gbé ní Násárẹ́tì. Matthew chapter 2 verse 23. ìlú Jericho. Joshua chapter 6 verse 1 to 2. òkun pupa. Exodus chapter 14 verse 22. ọgbà Gẹ́stímánì níbi tí Jésù ti ń gbàdúrà. Matthew chapter 26 verse 36. sàárè Lásárù ibojì ọba Dáfídì ní Jerúsálẹ́mù. ilé tí Jésù àtàwọn ọmọ ẹ̀yìn ti jó ń jalè Olúwa. Mark chapter 14 verse 15 to 18. yàrá òkè níbi táwọn ọmọ ẹ̀yìn ti gbẹ̀mí mímọ́. iṣẹ́ àpọ́sítélì chapter 2 verse 1 to 5 àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. fún àlàyé lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́ ẹ̀ka tí ń mọ̀dà Athens sórí nọ́mbà yìí 078 721 379 53 tàbí pásítọ̀ Elijah Kúmúyè sórí nọ́mbà yìí 079 846 348 98. àjò sílẹ̀ mímọ́ kì í ṣe ìrìn àjò lásán ṣùgbọ́n ká lọ kábọ̀ ká dẹni ọ̀tun. ìrìn àjò sí Jerusalem tọdún yìí. Jerusalem.
Heritage. ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń bá wa dòwò pọ̀ ẹ ṣe àdúpẹ́. Heritage event tuntun ti dé. 360 photo booth 160 LED play projector ohun èlò ìgbàlódé lóríṣiríṣi. ilẹ̀ gbàgbẹ́ Heritage níjàre.
ní Heritage event àti gẹ̀rẹ́gẹ̀jìgẹ̀ àti tẹ̀síwájú iléeṣẹ́ wa ti kúrò bá ti lérò. àwọn ohun amáyédẹrùn ìgbàlódé tó ń fini lọ́kànbalẹ̀ níbi ayẹyẹ wà nílẹ̀ rẹpẹtẹ. rental service lọ́lọ́kọ̀ òjọ̀kan ìyàwòrán kótópó olóbìrípo 360 photo booths jíjí àràmàǹdà àti ìgbàlódé light emitting diode 160 LED screen tó ń tanná tàmálẹ̀ gàràgà. a ní flame projector ẹ̀rọ cold fireworks machine wà tó ń ṣáná wọlé ẹ̀rọ low fog machine ògbẹ́yìn digital photography pẹ̀lú digital and special effect creations. a ṣe live streaming service tó máa ń ṣàfihàn ayẹyẹ yín bó ti ń lọ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ ní gbogbo àgbáyé ó máa wò. a tún lè bá yín gbèrò tàbí mójútó àwọn ayẹyẹ tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣe bí ìgbéyàwó ìṣílé ìkómọjáde ìsìnkú àgbà àjọ̀dún ẹgbẹ́ tàbí tìjọ. kílẹ̀ ń dúró dè ẹ kàn sí wa ní Heritage event lórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 0333 0116 367 àti 07367 367 555 email admic@eventspecialeffect.co.uk lórí ẹ̀rọ alátagbà www.eventspecialeffect.co.uk. Heritage event giving your event that special effect.
ilẹ̀ gbàgbẹ́ Heritage níjàre. Heritage TV for your next event. Rental services. We are the best at what we do.
Heritage event for your next event. What are your requests? Let's enhance you with various modern facilities that will make your event very successful. With Heritage event, giving your event that special effect. We engage in rental service. We provide you with 160 light emitting diode, LED screen, 360 photo booth also available, flame projector, cold fireworks machine, and low fog machine, digital photography, also digital and special effect creation. decoration. We also give live streaming services. We can also manage and plan your event for you, such as wedding ceremony, housewarming, child dedication, burial ceremony, clubs and churches anniversary. So what are you waiting for? Contact us now on 0333 0116 367 or 07367 367 555. Email admin@eventspecialeffect.co.uk. Website www.eventspecialeffect.co.uk. Heritage Event, giving your event that special effect.
We are the best at what we do. Heritage, oh.
Quick Cargo
Limited. From London to Nigeria.
Quick Cargo Limited. We specialize in shipping and air freight from London to Nigeria. We provide you with high quality, affordable and reliable shipping platform globally. Quick Cargo Limited. We collect from your door within London with free pickup. Your containers, cash shipping, air freight services, shipment shipping, plant machinery and professional packing services. All this we do to satisfy you. London address, Unit 1215, Access Self Storage, Kingsbridge Road, Afresh Way, back in IG 11 OBD. Telephone +44 79 04 04 1142 +44 79 6021 2185 +44 78 4949 4970. Nigeria address #1 Molara Alibaba Close behind CPM Church, Ajao Estate, Lagos. Telephone 090 7083 3630. Website www.quickcargo.co.uk. Email info@quickcargo.co.uk. Quick Cargo Limited, affordable and reliable shipping
from London to Nigeria.
Everybody in London, have you heard that Heritage Television has come up with something new? All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream. That was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020 800 46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud.